What's up, jobbers, and welcome to the latest edition of the Jobber Knocker podcast. As always, is Nestlemania alongside for the ride is a man that always has told me that his favorite wrestler is Bill Goldberg. JC.
I mean, yeah, hell yeah. I love that. Good thing. That was probably like by far the best part of that segment. But yeah, that was great. That was great. And yeah, you know what? I agree. I do like Bill Goldberg better than Bret Hart.
Ooh.
Bret screwed Bret. Fraud.
Wow. I don't even know what to say.
Guy. And I know you love Bret, so
listen.
I'm
I
an
love
HBK
everybody.
guy. I'm an Owen guy. I'm a Bill Goldberg guy. Not really, but
in this instance, you are a Bill Goldberg guy. That's fine. But we got a lot to talk about here. We've got a lot of wrestling and a lot of not wrestling topics, I guess, to cover in this episode. I don't know. I'm just throwing out teases to see if people are interested. Anyway, where do we start, JC? Always.
We start in the shine, so we're not going to get all out yet. We're not going to talk about Fox yet. We're not going to talk about the other shit you might have teased yet. Some people put out lists. Our lists are better, so maybe we'll do that after. But yeah, Nestlemania, we start in the shine. Always in the shine. I mean, obviously, we're starting with the greatest debut in SmackDown on Fox television history. Vini, Vidi, Vinci. I mean, look it. You know I was hyped for this. And you're probably thinking, whoa, JC, first of all, you're starting the fucking show with Vinci. Second of all, shouldn't you be upset with how that debut went? He looked like an idiot. They squashed him. He's a jobber. Dikembe Mutombo says not today. Because boys and girls, let's think about this. If Gio Vinci had his standard debut, beat Apollo Crews in like 2 minutes, would you care? No. Would you talk about it? No. Would you be interested in seeing it next week? No. But if a guy comes out who they've been teasing vignettes for, and they literally have him come out in this extravagant entrance and all this stuff, he gets in the ring. The man didn't even take his pants off, Nestlemania, and he got rolled up and lost to Apollo Crews. This is fucking fantastic booking. Know why? Because it got people talking, and now all of a sudden it's on your mind. Like, it's like Vinci. It's like, yeah, do they make him look like a stooge for a week? Sure. But that's kind of the point, because look, I've talked about it with him all the time. I enjoy him. I think his gimmick is fun. They didn't go all in like they did in NXT, but he's a guy I enjoy. He's a credible wrestler. He's also Italian, just like me. So I got to support, the family there. But it's just like this is how you treat a guy like this. And it's just, I think it worked. I'm curious your take, but I thought this was flawlessly done. I didn't expect it. And I thought it was great because like, now I want to see it next week. Like, I love the gimmick. I love the smile. But it's like, now they gave me a reason to be interested.
I honestly thought I was going to come on this program and be the voice of reason. So I'm glad that you ended up feeling the same way that I did.
Yeah, because we're both intelligent wrestling fans.
Wow, you gave me a compliment. This is weird this early.
Well,
only 4
when you
minutes
compare it to the rest of the internet, because it was people are just...
Well, I laughed because I was just like, this is funny. But then I thought to myself, well, I could be outraged for a second. But then I thought, like, even if he did 3 minutes, like if he lost in 3 minutes in a jobber alert, then it's just a normal thing that we'd be upset about. But the fact that he got like caught in his jacket and then lost right away, I was like, that to me is better than a 3 minutes or less jobber alert, because he just couldn't get his coat off because he was too busy, winking and doing God knows what. So it's part of his gimmick that he's so in love with himself that he tripped over his own dick to lose the match. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was fine. And to your credit and to your point, we've seen it before. This we haven't seen before in this particular way. So, hey, you know what? It's worth trying out. Will it work out? We don't know, but it's better than not being on TV. So that's my thought.
My last point on it is just like, obviously when he comes out, there's not a lot of reaction. We get this all the time with these people. Like, Vinci's always been a tag team star. The man has barely spoken. Like, he's never, like, it's one of those things. He had the short run NXT of a single star, but it's like, I mean, he's on his second name because they changed all the names a few years ago. So it's just like, yeah, they do the wide shot and you see like not a lot of reaction. But you know what happened when that roll up happened, Nestlemania? The crowd popped. And that's how you do it. It's like you take something that literally people are probably like, oh, bathroom break, but then you make it and like, oh, that was interesting. Next time he comes out, I got to pay attention. And when you pay attention to things and you have a cool entrance like that, kid has a chance to be a part of the mid card, and that's all I want for him. So
It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Eva Marie thing, where she brought
yes,
all
Eva
up.
Marie, Chelsea Green,
Yeah,
like it. This is like that type of thing.
and it worked. I don't
100%.
have a problem with it, but if it continues past like 6 months, then we might have an issue. But
Well,
we'll see how long it lasts.
I'm assuming he's gonna beat Apollo Crews this week, but we'll see. We shall see. Nestlemania going around. I didn't really have much else on SmackDown that I love, but I did enjoy Mello and Andrade interrupting L.A. Knight. Yeah, because Nestlemania, you know what that means. We're getting another banger between Mello and Andrade. And it just also got me thinking, it's like, I want to see a triple threat with these guys. So maybe some sort of chicane. I'm sure LA Knight's going to be sitting ringside and someone's going to accidentally hit him. And then they're going to start a brawl. I bet it's going to be a DQ or a count out. And we're getting a triple threat. And then we put Mello and Andrade singles on pause. But it's just like, I was just excited for the possibilities because we've talked about both these guys being a strong part of the mid card, talked about them as potential LA Knight challengers. So it's just like, yeah, let's muck it up. All three of these guys like are just so interesting in their own ways. And I enjoyed this. And obviously both Mello and Andrade ate some BFTs for their troubles.
I don't think LA Knight will be more interesting than he is right now.
Yeah.
So you might as well just let it ride the lightning bolt, as they say. So I love watching Andrade. I love watching Mello, obviously, but it's interesting to me to see where this goes. I didn't think a triple threat would be a thing right now. I think they might do that down the line. I think they got to finish this best of 5, best of 7 thing. We'll see where it goes, but I just don't see them putting this on a pay-per-view. I see them putting this as a heavy main event on SmackDown. So
yeah, that's why we see that with a lot of the mid cards and stuff like that of the Triple H era. Like we have a lot more high profile TV matches, and the pay-per-views are really reserved for the major feuds, which is how it should be.
Speaking of things that are reserved for TV, that's what we call a segue in the biz. I can't believe I'm putting this in my shine. Are you ready? Are you ready? The start to Monday Night Raw was a eight person tag street fight. I did not think I was going to enjoy this one iota. And I was shocked at how much I enjoyed this match.
This can have fun.
This might be, and I'm probably hyperbolic, and that's fine.
Yeah. Hyper Billy.
Shout out to Billy D. This might be the best crafted street fight 8-person I've ever seen in my life.
That's a lot of qualifiers. So yeah, maybe
on a Monday.
I mean, it was a lot of fun, dude. The crowd is red hot for this group.
Yeah.
I mean, just anytime you let the Creeds, they freaking thrive in chaos, as does Loomis, as does Gacy. Eric Rowan's great in this kind of stuff. So it's just like everyone was clicking. I love the Ivy Nile, like paint and everything, looking like a badass. Like Nikki Cross looked great in this match. She's another one, thrives on chaos. So you're right. This was a great mix. This was a fun way to kick off the show. Gets the crowd red hot. Not something, I mean, it's something every now and then that I'll admit is fun. I never look forward to these things, but then I watch them like, oh, it's pretty fun. But it's just like, yeah, it's like, this is still working. It's one of those things where it's just like, especially for that live crowd, it is an A+. And on this one on TV translated, because I know we hammered that home last week about this not always translating. This translated very well to television.
The one thing I really enjoyed about this, there was a couple of things in particular, but there was one thing that I really enjoyed that stood out to me in terms of something you don't normally see. We don't normally get a lot of 6 men and 2 women in that field. So it felt like that gave me a fresh outlook on watching something that I've seen hundreds of thousands of times. So I was into it. But the other thing that I thought was great was that Nikki and Ivy were kind of like the B story watching like a regular episode of something. Like, you know, when you're watching a television show, there's your A story, your B story, sometimes your C story. And every once in a while, when the A story in the match was kind of like hit its mark, then of course the ladies picked it back up and put each other through tables or beat the shit out of each other with cans.
Or suplex Chad Gable.
Right, exactly. I would fucking pop for that. That was great.
Oh, yeah.
But like those things, like as I saw that, I'm like, I don't know if I've seen that correctly done yet. And I think that was hats off to whoever put that. I'm gonna throw it out there and guess that was an Abyss match that was put together just because of what was transpiring. I feel like that's probably a safe bet. But the other thing too that I thought was great was they kind of booked. What are you laughing at?
Joe said Rowan using stairs felt right. He's so right. The master of the tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs match.
Oh man, the dangerous stairs. I forgot about that. So the other thing that I thought was really great too was the way that it was laid out with like Rowan getting buried. It was like they were using Rowan's character specifically to make sense for the other three to kind of like do their American made thing, which I thought was great. And they just piled shit on him. So again, like the structure of the match is what I'll remember more than the actual spots of the match. And then I'm sitting here watching this. I don't care about anybody in this match more than Dexter Loomis. Like when
His
he
hair,
was,
man, it's the fucking hair. He looks so cool.
it's unbelievable to me because it's just like, here's a guy who just slithered around and was fantastic in NXT with Indy Hartwell. And then when I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, like, there's a lot of good stuff in this match, like maybe giggle or whatever. But then I was watching, I'm like, every time Dexter Loomis is on my screen, I am like outwardly cheering for him. And I was just like, I can't remember the last time I actually like was excited to see somebody like that. It's bizarre to me. It's like it's a complete 180 for me. I don't really care what happens, but it might be the look. I don't know. I always have a soft spot for Rob Zombie. So maybe because he looks a little bit like Rob Zombie and like the Mansons and shit. Like maybe that's why. But he was dropping leg drops through tables. He was fucking crashing and burning. And I think he was doing yeoman's work. So I really fucking enjoyed it. So I don't know. I was just pleasant as somebody that thought he was completely out. They dragged me back in. So now I'm giving him another week. It's going to be up and down.
See where they go from here. But yeah, no, I'm glad you put that in the shine. I'm going to stick on Raw Nestlemania because look I've kind of like hinted at this, but I've been like, hey, I love the Judgment Day. I enjoy all the shit they do, but I'm like, we got to get to business. I feel like every time I do this, Triple H fucking answers me. I said last week, we got to get down to business. And Nestlemania, we're down to business. Liv versus Rhea. Baby, now we got bad blood. Finn and Damian. Now we got bad blood. Let's fucking go. This Finn and Damian thing I've been waiting for. And this is the Finn Balor. This is part of the reason why I fell in Finn Balor when he came to NXT. These types of promo. Him just being a heel. But it's just, here's the thing. Why I love the Finn Balor promo. He's not telling any fucking lies. He has been truthful the entire time, exactly what he's going to do, exactly how he's always felt. And that's what I love about it. Like, you have a heel that is like, yes, he is clearly the bad guy, but it's like, he is doing everything he's ever said he's going to do. So it's a cool dynamic. This is the match we've been waiting for I feel like 2 years with these two. They've been together. Bad Blood is the perfect pay-per-view for this feud. It's the perfect pay-per-view for Rhea and Liv, so I'm excited for that. So I enjoyed all the happenings with this, but I really wanted to shout out the Finn promo in particular. And Nestlemania, anytime Dom and Dragon Lee wrestle, I could watch that shit every week.
You just had to throw in Dragon Lee.
Yeah, they're fucking. It's literally Nestlemania. If I told you you could only watch, if you had to watch Dragon Lee actually wrestle, you'd want him to wrestle Dom. Their chemistry just like has been. They've had so many matches now, but they're just like made to wrestle each other. They're like a rivalry that we could see for like a decade.
I will say this much. I wanted to ask this because I agree with most of what you said there. My other thing was when I hear Bad Blood, it makes me feel like, don't you think like based on the feuds, based on what's being given to us presented wise, we could just say everything is street rules here, everything is Extreme Rules or something. Like I feel like if there ever was
I feel like this should be a gimmicked pay-per-view. Yeah.
I feel like because it is Bad Blood, it's like everything is no DQ or everything is Extreme Rules or everything is something. Because I feel like if it's just, to me, when I hear Bad Blood, it's I don't want everything in a Hell in a Cell. I don't want everything in
You're not one of those, so that's off the list.
Right. But I mean, like, let's, I don't care what it is. I just feel like if it's Bad Blood, it's like
Dom on a pole match.
Yes, of course. Just Viagra on a pole. And so you don't remember the Viagra on the pole match in WCW. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway,
I thought you were referring to Dom. That's what I was confused.
Well, he might get you.
Use Viagra on Raw or something? Do you need
WWE Uncensored? There you go. I like it. It definitely was not WCW Uncensored. But the one thing I was thinking about was it just kind of feels weird to me if Rhea is going to have a regular match or if Dom is going to get involved. It feels like it should be kind of like a
when is this pay-per-view? It's October, right?
October, yeah.
In like Georgia. So my guess is that both of these are going to get some sort of gimmicks just because the Judgment Day involvement. Like Rhea and Priest are going to be sick of the interference of some kind. I mean, look at Rhea's banged up. What type of match they like to do a lot when someone's kind of banged up and needs to go to the hospital?
Street fight.
Well, no, I could see. I was thinking ambulance match for that. I mean, Priest. We've seen Priest in street fights. It's really good. My guess is we're probably going to get more than one match for Priest and Finn, so I'm curious what they do. But like, I think you're right, like, because we've always had like the gimmick pay-per-views, like the Extreme Rules and whatever. It's like Bad Blood's perfect for that because so far they've done a good job of lining up like the best feuds in the business right now. So,
I'm sorry.
Ellies, we are very sorry.
Sorry, Paul. Sorry. Paul's right. Please refer to these as premium live events.
Yes.
PLEs.
We got our P's, Ron.
Yes, yes, of course. So it is what it is. But yeah, wow, it is interesting when you hear Bad Blood, like that rang true to me. But it is just one person's humble opinion. Anything else that you have that's you know?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we already mentioned the Gunther saying Goldberg was his favorite wrestler, so that was the only part of this segment that I really cared about. We can talk about that after if you want or whatever. But the only last piece of shine that I had in here was the women's tag team match on Raw. I feel like this is something that we haven't got to see in a while, is like Bianca cook a little. Bianca was in her bag in this match with her athleticism, her stuff. It looks like she added some new moves to her moveset, and I was like, man, I forget how fucking much I enjoy watching her wrestle. Because it's like one of those things, like in a tag match, you don't get it as much, but I feel like this was one of their better booked tag matches because I thought a lot of the times, I think in the Bianca Jade matches, we've seen Bianca like take a lot of the work in from the other team. And it's just because it's what you want to set up the tag in for Jade. But this one, I thought they kind of let Bianca cook a little and I enjoyed it. Obviously, I think very highly of Isla and Alba as well. Thought they had a good showing, but I enjoyed this match as kind of the payoff for this feud. And I think Jade's continuing to improve. There's still some bumps, obviously, along the way. But for me, my big takeaway is I was like, man, I've really missed just watching Bianca just do her thing. So I'm kind of glad that, like, you know what, we got to kind of see that. And now it's like, let's continue to have these women continue to wrestle so I can see more Bianca and continue to watch Jade's development.
There was something there that really kind of like made me nervous in a way. And I guess this translate into from, you know, shine to heat in here. So I'll just say the nice part and then we can hit the button. So the girls have a good match, right? And then they have a backstage segment where it's them and Damage Control. And they're like, you know, you won't be having those titles for long. And then, of course, directly after that was our favorite tandem, actually tricycle.
Oh, God.
In a 6-woman tag. Get him off my TV, get him off my TV, get him off my TV. Now, if I'm Triple H, I'm not. But if I was thinking, they did that line, and then they said, you're not going to have those for long, and then they showed those 3 women, and I was like, is that motherfucker gonna make those women tag team champions? I think that's what's going to happen, folks. I think they're going to let Damage Control. JC won some more money, of course. He's very excited over there.
Hot Brazilians always come through, baby. Round 1 sub.
Anyway, can you focus back on the program?
Yeah, sorry.
So anyway, Pure Cold and Frenzy or whatever the fuck they're called. I don't know.
Puree Cold Fusion.
Whatever the fuck they're called. Fucking,
they suck.
I don't know. The fucking name is Pure Colds and whatever.
They got a big reaction. Speaking of reactions, and they came out.
Yeah. It is weird to me, but I don't know. It's hard for me. It's really fucking hard for me to watch that. And then, like, of course, Natty came out. Of course, it was in cart country and whatever, and it is what it is. I was hoping for the turn, didn't get it.
Who took the fall in this match, Nestlemania?
I don't remember. I'll be honest.
I wouldn't be asking it. That's just for Guthrie.
Was it Zoe?
Who always takes the fall for them? It's Zoe.
She slipped on a banana peel every week. It is what it is.
She tapped out just like this girl right here.
Joe, we'll be talking about this shortly. Don't worry. All right. We'll just talk about that in a little bit, pal. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Grocery bag. Interesting.
We'll talk about it. So
let me talk to you.
Is there anything that's super heaty that you'd like to talk about, JC? Since I can get my hair across my ass any way I can figure it out.
Well, do we want to stick with WWE or do we want to get all out on WWE and just talk about that pile of shit that aired on, was it Saturday?
All right. Well, since Joe Stopper said it, we might as well. He is our AEW guy. By the way, Joe Stopper, the Collision Cowboy, the all-elite Joe Stopper, writes a lot of stuff for us. He's always doing things for AEW. He thinks he works for AEW. He does not work for AEW, no matter what he tells anybody. He works.
You should read his shit, jobberknocker.com, for sure, yes. Because I don't watch Collision or Rampage really anymore, unless if Joe shouts something up, then I'll seek it out. But yeah, I exclusively rely on Joe now because 2 hours of AEW a week is more than enough for me.
So we had All In, and we went all out. There's no hokey pokey here. I brought up the card. We're not going to talk about any of the pre-show because that's just stupid. We're going to start with MJF and Garcia, 23 minutes, 40 seconds. Look, clearly there was an injury angle. MJF wins, and then, of course, he gets injured. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes a win is a win, and sometimes injuring somebody is more important than it is the actual win. I guess if you go back to Wednesday, he said he was going to stretch him out, so he kept his word. But here's what I'm thinking. I would have loved to see Danny Garcia get a big dub here because I think that's what's missing from Danny Garcia is a big dub.
I don't think they're done yet. I think they might get there. I think
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not fair, but it is what it is. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this. Of course, the Young Bucks retain against all these fucking Yahoo people, Wheeler Yuta, whatever. Will Ospreay defeats Pac. Now, this one was a lot of fun. 2020 vision and 2020 minutes. If you just like wrestling, if you just like falsies, if you just like watching men beat each other up, this is good stuff. I will not say anything bad about this one.
Through 3 matches, do you think this is actual pay-per-view? So I can say it here. Do you think this is a pay-per-view level card through 3 matches? Or just a TV show?
No, it's a TV show.
That was my biggest gripe before we get to the rest of the card is, I mean, granted, you're 2 weeks after like your biggest show of the year. So it's going to happen, but it's just like a lot of this and a lot of the buildup and the randomness, it felt like it was like an episode of Dynamite. That's why for me, it's like there was no chance I was spending a dime on this.
Fair enough. Moving on, we have the Stat against Willow in a Chicago street fight, which when she did the split in the fucking tax, now granted, nothing actually hit her nether regions, but just watching it visually was like, oof, I love Stat. So when I watched her, I was like, well, if she's willing to do that, good for her, but, you're getting to a point here where you're going to sense a theme very soon, and I'm sure some type of rant will be coming from one of us, if not both. But I felt like it was slightly unnecessary for what we were talking about in this matchup. But that's just one particular opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we had Okada defending his fucking tin can championship that nobody cares about. I'm not even going to talk about him anymore. Mercedes and Shida, which really upset me because,
Shida concussed her. Get their fucking head off.
I mean,
yikes! That looked like it hurt.
And my other thing too is I love Mercedes in the ring, but that finish that she has never landed properly. I don't think it's her fault. I think it's that the people that she's giving it to just don't know how to hit it the correct way or help in the right way, and it just looks really sloppy. And it doesn't help the case of what's going on in AEW. It doesn't help her case, in my opinion, as well. I would just stick to what you're awesome at with the moves have brought you to the dance. And I understand always evolving and innovating. She's done that her entire career. But this move where she's got you on the back, spins you, and tries to put you at the knee, it seems like it's 1 out of 10 every time she hits it correctly. And again, it just doesn't look like an impactful move. It doesn't get me excited when she does it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in it when I see. I
like the idea of the move, but it's one of those it takes too much to.
It's like the Andrade Bra thing,
yes,
right?
That's what I mean. That's what I'm getting at. It's like I like the idea of the move, but it just like it takes too long to happen. The best finishers kind of just like they're smooth and they just happen.
So. Moving on, we have Bryan Danielson defeating Jack Perry. Yeah, duh. 27 minutes, 35 seconds. Now, clearly, there's some stuff that happened here, but I guess the only thing that really, really, really matters is what happened after the match. JC, there was
this was actually some storytelling by AEW here, and this was definitely one of the headlines coming out of the show, which is what you want. That's why you do the extra stuff, and you don't have just straight wrestling, because as Triple H says, the show never ends. So you got to give us reason to keep watching. So they did that. Did they do some things that they probably a little unnecessary? Yeah, sticking with the theme of the night, I'd say so.
I'm looking at it this way. I don't really cringe, nor am I a prude in any sense of like watching wrestling. Like I love flaming tables as much as the next guy. I loved ECW for the most part. Did I think there were some unnecessary things in ECW? Sure.
Oh,
but
for
that's
sure.
what
But it was branded. That's what the brand was.
but that's what the brand was.
Yes,
Exactly.
you knew
And
what to expect.
And I will say this much. I will give kudos to AEW for trying to be different than, especially on this pay-per-view. They were different than, and they've kind of gone away from that. So they're kind of trying to right the ship here and go like super extreme. The bag, no matter if it's gimmicked or whatever, was a little too much for me. Just me. I mean, it's not made for me. So it is what it is. I personally believe it made me laugh. That was the whole like Daniel Bryan environmental saving and then he's strangled by a paper bag thing, had me in stitches. But the other thing is you had children in the crowd. Like, I know wrestling is wrestling and that's what it is. And it's pay-per-view, but you're never going to be able to show this on television. You're never going to be able to show this on television at all. If you did, you'd lose all your ad revenue. You'd lose all your sponsors. You'd have no business doing that because people don't look at wrestling through that lens of like, I'm watching Law and Order or I'm watching a murder show or I'm watching something like that. When you know what you're getting ahead of time, then people will then put their ad revenue or their space and sponsorship behind that stuff. Maybe they won't lose it. Maybe they will, but it feels like it's a bad idea for me because you even saw a tweet that came out and says, due to the graphic nature of blah, 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 we will not be showing a clip of it. Meanwhile, fucking everybody on Twitter was showing the fucking clip. And all I kept thinking about was like, we know it's a work, dude. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I just wanted to know, is it shock value for shock value's sake? Like, what are we doing? Like, what was the point and where's the payoff coming from that?
My biggest problem with this was that it was the reason I didn't care for it is I thought it was unnecessary. Like the turn was already big enough. It's like you had the BCC turning on Brian. I think that gets people excited because it opens up Brian and Claudio, Brian and Moxley. No one gives a fuck about Wheeler Yuta, so I ain't gonna fucking even bother talking about him. But it just like it was kind of unnecessary, and I think that was kind of like my theme also with the main event, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's just like it's one of those things like. A lot of the times when people pull out this shit, like you're calling it shock value, it's kind of because you feel like it needs it because you're not good enough everywhere else. But the instances here where they use this, I'm like, they didn't need it. This would have been good enough. And the main event really would have been good enough. Like you don't necessarily need it. It's like these are things that like if something's just randomly, if you use it in an earlier match that was randomly thrown together, it didn't make sense. Then okay, I can see why they do it. It gives it a little more buzz, but it's like this is your biggest angle on the card and your biggest match on the card. And it felt like you did too much. And look, there is a small percentage of the audience that loves this shit. So they're going to be pissed off and be like, and I'm just like, whatever. But it's like the majority of your audience, like, I feel like they don't want to see this. It's just like, it's one of those things. Like it's unnecessary. I don't mind again, if you have special things every now and then, like they've done lights out. And I know that was kind of the point of the main event, but it's like, to do it on like your high profile angle and your high profile match of the night, I just think it's overkill in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. The plastic bag for me is one thing. So here's why I think I have a problem with the plastic bag is that if done incorrectly, you kill somebody, right? Yeah. Like, but here's the thing. The other things that happen with the chair shots, yeah, that's bad. And the needles, we'll talk about all the fucking, all the hardcore shit has happened. That's fine. I don't care about that. But what's going to stop somebody from joking around with somebody else and doing that?
Well, that's the big thing.
You know
of,
what I
like,
mean?
Obviously growing up, like we always made a joke of like the don't try this at home thing. It's like, yeah, because it's one of those things like we're adults. We know like, yeah, I'm not going to fucking put a plastic bag over your head. But it's like you're a 10-year-old and you watch this, you get excited. You're like, oh, let's do this spot with your friends, like reenacting it. And it's like, so that's obviously always a danger, but it kind of comes with this territory. But yeah, just like I don't want to use like harsh words, but so I'll stick with unnecessary and overkill. Because that's what this was. It's like, it didn't need it. Took it too far.
Moving on, we have Hangman Adam Page defeating Swerve Strickland 31 minutes 30 seconds. Lights out, steel cage. Now here's the thing. I don't even care about this chair shot at the end.
There's a gimmick chair, clearly. It didn't which is why they cut away. It's fine.
It didn't.
The chair didn't bother me. It was everything else that I was like, ugh.
I think the needle for me again.
Yeah, needles. I hate needles. So not a fan
unnecessary, in my opinion. Right, like.
Vertebreakers on cinder blocks. Like, as someone with back problems, I'm just like cringing. I'm like, oh god, these guys. How can they do this to each other?
I had no problem with anything. It was only the needle that really got me. Like, I was just like, why? Like, and you're taking me out of it. It's like one of those things where, and here's the thing. You're gonna think I'm nuts for saying this. You're gonna be like, oh, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. And for all the neckbeards and fucking assholes who just were gonna come at me in the comments anyway, this is directed at all of you, you fucking jerk offs. This is what I want to say. If he fucking needed the needle, why? Explain to me why he needed the fucking needle. What did the needle do? Nothing. It poked him. It poked him. It gave him shock value. You know what he should have done?
Gave him tetanus.
Yeah, great. Guess what? He can't win a match by tetanus. You know what he should have done?
Long term, it might work out.
Well, long term, yeah, sure. Here's something.
Rusty needle in the neck.
Here's something that you should have done. You lit his house on fire. Why not light the person on fire at the end of the fucking night? That way, it works with the burning of the house. Then it all goes together in a story. And it works, but the needle had no fucking placement to it. If you light somebody on fire, then you can come back and be like, you motherfucking burnt my house down. You motherfucking burnt me down. You got 3rd-degree burns. It fucking works. I don't know. It makes me feel like they're almost there and then they do something and they piss all over it. And
the biggest thing when we talk about AEW is there's no one telling them no. It's like we make the joke that a lot of these wrestlers book their own shit, but like, they book their own shit. Like the biggest stars book their own shit. Like Swerve can do whatever the fuck he wants. Danielson can do whatever the fuck he wants. MJF can too, but he's like, he fucking thinks differently. But it's just like all these guys. Mercedes can do whatever the fuck she wants. Like all these mega stars, Edge when he's around, Cope Dope, do whatever the fuck he wants. And it's like Tony's like so much of I'll just use the word mark because that's the word everyone uses. That it's just like he's not going to tell them no. He gets excited for it. He's like, yeah. But it's like there's at some point when, like I said earlier, and I feel like I'm being a dead horse, but it's like you had the great angle with Bryan and Moxley. A producer knew what he was doing. Be like, look, you don't need the plastic bag spot. This is going to fucking go over so well. Look at this main event. It's like, dude, guys, this match is going to be phenomenal. People who love death matches are going to call it a great death match. Think it's one of the coolest things ever. It's going to make it a lot of fun. Maybe leave the needle out of it because you don't need it. Your shit is already good. Why do you feel like you need that? Again, like I said earlier, to do like the shock and awe spots like that, it's like you do that if you feel like you don't have enough. This match had enough, man. This is one of your best feuds of the year in AEW. This was a massive payoff. And you're just gonna go fucking pull like with the needle. It's just like it's someone needs to be able to tell them no. Say no, you don't need that. Because guess what? We're talking about the fucking needle instead of how great the match was. That's your problem.
Should have just lit the asshole on fire. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm not gonna condone lighting people on fire. They almost did that last pay-per-view.
Listen, all I'm saying is this: if you can do it in a dramatic, theatric way, WWE and WCW and of course ECW.
We've seen AEW try to blow up a ring before. I'm just
saying, you could do it in a way where you lit a house on fire, you lit a guy on fire, and it would all come together. But again, we're talking about a stupid fucking needle. Now, can they get out of their own fucking way? I don't know. I have no fucking idea. What did you say? When are we getting to other topics? And yes, I heard that at the start.
This is the Heat bird. That's why we're talking about AEW.
Jesus Christ.
We already talked about the Puree Fusion Collective at the start of the Heat.
Yeah.
Look at other WWE Heat. I don't really have. There's things that I just kind of nothing. I mean, do we want to shit on mid-event Jey Uso and piss people off again?
Oh my God! Look, so
I'm so sick of this fucking guy winning shit, dude. That fucking I don't care about him anymore. His entrance is cool. Let him just fucking be like a useless whatever. It's like, that Dragon Off promo too. Talking about it, I was like, I want it. They didn't give it to me. I did love all the part about Braun going up and talking to everyone. I thought that was a really cool element because Braun, Dom, close your ears because I know you're not there yet. But like, this kid is so fucking good, and it's just like it's scary every time I watch him. Like, he added that to his game. It's like, if he's going to continue to be this good character-wise and on the mic, look fucking out. That WrestleMania main event, Dom, is coming faster than you think, baby.
I loved when him and Braun got to each. I was just like, oh boy.
My Braun boner was through the roof.
I was sitting there. I'm like, Monday Night Roar right through your pants. I was there. And of course the Dragunov thing was great. And then like, just any part of like, Don't Call Me Butch was great.
Pete?
And then like,
okay, yeah. Pete.
Yeah, okay, Pete.
The way he was saying Pete.
The way he says Pete is so condescending too.
That's what I mean. Is like Braun. It's just he's doing the things that like we talk about, like that Roman and these great ones do, especially like just the way they say things, the way they accentuate things, the faces they make. I'm like, holy fuck, this kid. It's just like he's a student of the game, man. And I just like I'm all aboard. Choo choo.
But we are not on with mid-event Jey Uso. So there we are. It is a thing. It won't matter because he won't win. It's a foregone conclusion. He's going to run into the buzzsaw. It is what it is. Jey Uso is just...
Get him back to Jimmy and Roman, please. Now that we know that Survivor Series is in Canada, it's Roman, the Usos, and Sami fucking Zayn versus the fucking new bloodline. Boom. Just book it. That's why they're doing Sammy Gunther now. It's why fucking mid-event Jey Uso has to face Braun now, because see ya. Get over there. Get in that War Games, baby, because that's what we want to see.
Isn't it hilarious that War Games is in Canada and like 6 of the Samoans can't make it to Canada without Triple H having to fucking pay him off or something? It's astronomical how funny that is to me.
WWE and TKO have a lot of strokes, so they're gonna.
Oh, I know, but it's hilarious to me. It's like literally behind enemy lines to go to War Games.
That's why they're putting. Canada's like, hey, you putting them in a cage, eh? All good to us, eh?
All right, so since we already drizzled all over AEW, let's go through some quick heats very quickly. We have Cody and Solo. It's a whole thing. I did like that he went over to Jacob Fatu for a hot second, and I was just like, and now you've told the whole audience that Jacob Fatu is more important than Solo. Thanks, Cody. And not his fault. It was just the writing to me was a little bit weak on that. I know what they were trying to do. It is what it is. Let's see. We didn't talk about Bayley. She beats Tiffy, whatever, and it's a whole thing. Nobody cares. I did laugh very much at the triple threat of KO and Waller in theory. But again, it seems like poor KO is just going to be stuck there until next week, which I assume Randy Orton comes back. They start. You would think going to the
Where's
arcade.
That show next week? They're not in Canada anymore, right?
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah. So.
I'm sure Ray could tell us, but Ray's busy probably singing out Taylor Swift somewhere. God bless him.
Baby, now we got bad blood. There's a lot of Taylor themes that go in here. So
I know. I mean, there's friendship bracelets we could probably talk about, but it's a whole other concept. That's a whole other concept. But yeah, anyway, so we talked about the big things here, but then it's going over to Raw. Oh yeah, Chelsea beats Michin in 4 minutes. Oh, that was a big dub, as you said. Great stuff. Moving on to Raw. Let's see. I don't really have a lot going on that we didn't talk about.
I thought Raw was a good show overall.
The one thing I will say that was kind of a weird thing for me was this like Miz Cross Woods Kofi promo. I get what we were doing here, but then it was like, you keep fucking jerking me off here with this fucking New Day stuff. But
I got that in my hope, baby. It's coming.
Right. And then, of course, as we talked about everything else, Judgment Day was all over the goddamn place. So, JC, since we are here, and I feel like this is before we get to the comeback and the hope and stuff, I feel like we should open up the discussion here in the chat. Of course, we've got some people here. I do want to hear people's thoughts in the chat. Please be vocal here, or at least type in big angry caps. JC, I do want to talk about this very quickly. This was the last SmackDown on Fox. We had a 5-year thing. It started out, of course, with Kofi losing to Brock Lesnar in 8 seconds. We had Vince losing in 3. There's obviously some good and bad in between, obviously, with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Are you satisfied with Fox on Raw? Do you think it was a good thing for both entities? What do you overall think about this entire thing?
I mean, it was great for WWE because look at the neckbeards you were referring to earlier are going to get a big victory on Friday when, look at Fox is like free, like basic cable, like a way bigger audience. Like those SmackDown numbers are going to be going way down on USA in terms of ratings just because it's not on Fox anymore. It started off with a bang. I thought like it was just Fox was all in. It had a lot of good cross promotion, and I feel like they kind of got away from that a little bit. Like it was one of those things like Fox, the company, just decided like, look at. We're not going to really renew this like the premium that we want, the WWE wants, like, especially if Netflix is coming in stealing a show. NBC's not going to want to agree up on one. We don't want to compete with that. But I thought overall it was a big success because I think it did kind of, it expanded the audience to maybe different people that you wouldn't normally reach. I do think there were definitely some cool moments. Obviously, like you said, like pretty much the whole Bloodline saga played out over there. So that's obviously like a huge thing, and I think that the first couple years we were on there, like SmackDown was our favorite show. Like that's when it was cooking. But the last the last 2 years, I feel like it just kind of got cucked a little by Roman not being around and stuff and being a little less interesting. So it definitely ended a little bit with a whimper, but overall, I thought it was a really good success for them. The WWE definitely made a lot of money at it. There's rumors that Fox is even thinking about throwing his hat in the ring for maybe other type of wrestling, just because they're like, look at it's a market that we were okay with. I just don't, the premium they would have had to pay that Netflix and NBC paid, I didn't think they wanted to do.
So Joe Stopper says ratings don't matter anymore.
Don't tell the internet that, Joe, and your entire AEW fan base, baby. They don't matter to me. They're fucking fake numbers.
They are. But here's the thing that I will say is I think it was, like you said, great for WWE exposure wise. But the one thing I will say from Fox's standpoint is I think they overvalued WWE at the moment that they signed the agreement. Like, I didn't think it was worth like $5 billion or whatever it was, or whatever the number was, which again, it probably wasn't that much, but I don't have my facts in front of me. But I think they overvalued it, and I think they thought they were going to get bigger numbers. And I think people to me, Fox has always fucked up everything, in my opinion, that isn't sports related. Like, just in general, I don't believe they know what to do in terms of just Fox when it comes to television. I think they
have a bad attention span.
They don't do well.
No, I feel like they just, like, it's one of those things, like, they get all in. They're like that person that gets all into something, then they kind of like, it's like, you put it in the side of the toy box or whatever. It just, I feel like that's how Fox is with a lot of their stuff, besides like their main squeezes.
I don't know. I really got mad because I was excited when I saw the crossover for all these different Fox entities, but like, I should have known better, because anything I've ever seen on Fox that I've actually been interested in, they cut right at the fucking legs. And I'm just like, okay, we get it. Like, you're great at sports. You're one of the best sports places in the world, and you do that. And I was kind of hoping they do that with WWE, but I don't think they really understood what it brought to the table. And I don't think WWE could do anything about it differently. I think they did everything they could on their end. So I just thought it was great for one person. It wasn't great for both. And of course, like, advertisers probably just, they don't want to advertise with wrestling all the time. So I don't know. That
wasn't a problem. They made plenty of money, dude. That show had too many.
But clearly not enough to re-up it, though.
Well, it's just one of those things. Like, it's like a cost-effective thing. You look at it, because it's a lot of these companies, like, they're like, okay, I'm spending this much money, but like, can I use this towards somewhere else? Like, NBC made the decision a few years ago to drop hockey, but it's because we want to get involved with the NBA again. So it's like, we're going to take for a hit for a few years by having nothing. But when we get back in, this is what we want. So it's like, you never know what these companies are looking for. Obviously, Fox did that with WWE. They're like, we want to invest in this and be a part of it. And I thought it started off great, because I remember talking smack, like how great that was. And it's like, they had all these ideas, but it's one of those things, like, when you do a lot of the extra side projects, those are the things that kind of become the money pits. And when you're a major corporation, you start to cut those. And when you start to cut those, then you just have the regular product. And I mean, remember the AR entrances like kind of started there, which were great. And they used a lot of the 4K cameras. And then they kind of started to cut some of that stuff too. So it's just like, it's one of those things. I think as a big company, you always have these people look in that are just looking at their spreadsheets and numbers being like, well, let's cut this, and this to make money, because the advertisers are already locked in. We're already making this money for this product. Do we need these extra expenditures? But when you do that, it's like, well, you're lessening the product, because again, you're paying for these things for a reason. But wrestling has a lot of extra things. And once they started dropping a lot of like the dressings or the side dishes, it makes it less desirable. And I think honestly, WWE wanted to move on too, because I think they love their relationship with NBC because of the more freedom they get. Whereas Fox, you could tell, was very overarching. And then obviously they wanted that back from Netflix. So I think it was a good 5 years though, overall. But I am curious to see if what Fox does in the future in terms of wrestling, because it's one of those things. They got plenty of channels for it. They got plenty of time for it. So
sports business with JC. Can you tell we've worked in television, folks? It is what it is. Something else, since you said it, I'll just say it here. It's what we call a segue, as we said in the biz. There's a little bit of, well, it's not really a rumor. It actually came up for the rest of the year. And supposedly, if you believe the dirtiest of sheets, that Raw's going back to 2 hours for the remainder of the USA contract, and potentially could go to Netflix and be 2 hours. Now, we're going to use these separately because they're two separate things. They're not exactly the same here. But JC, do you see a positive and negative to at least the USA thing, and then a positive and negative to the Netflix thing? Go.
Well, the Netflix thing is easy to say. Netflix is fucking not a fucking cable television thing. It is literally Netflix. So if they want to do a 1 hour Raw, they can do a 1 hour Raw. They want to do a fucking 4.5 hour Raw, they can do a 4.5 hour Raw. I think they'll probably aim. I think 2 hours makes sense because you're gonna not have they'll have like their own built-in commercials, but you're not gonna have the network commercials that are required to built in because Netflix does things differently. Now look at they might be adding some sort of ads anyway, so you might get 30 to a minute ads unless you pay for premium. I think that's coming for Netflix. We've seen it in other things, and I'm sure WWE, like that's something that'll be a part of it. But it's just like you're literally like let's think about how much of Raw do you think is commercials? Probably a third of it almost. So cutting it out, Netflix, it's just like, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a hard time. I think it's going to be whatever the fuck we want to do. This week we have more, we're doing more. This week we have less. Netflix will give them the freedom to do that. Easy peasy with that one. In terms of USA, the rest of the year, yeah, obviously, like I was surprised because I feel like Raw's really found their groove at 3 hours. They do a good job using all their talent over the 3 hours. Look at, we both watch it later on DVR, so having all the commercials built in, it doesn't feel as bad because we just skip through it. That's why we watch it the way we do. It makes it easier to consume. I feel like a lot of people are like that, but yeah, if you watch it live every week for 3 hours, like you're a brave one. But yeah, it is interesting. I don't know what in terms of the contract or whatever with that, but I was surprised to hear that about the USA thing. I think some people are excited because they're like, oh, 2 hours is easier. But again, it's like, it's how you consume it, man. Like this is the argument I always make with these things being too long. It's like there are people who want it to be that long and will do it, so it's available to you. If you don't want it to be that long, don't watch it all. If Pure Fusion Collective comes on and does a 15-minute match, you can hit skip 5 3 times. Guess what? You don't have to watch it. It's gone. You save some time. So it's one of those things where it's just like it's a weird hill that I've always found people dying on. It's too much or it's too little. It's like it's definitely not just right because we're all different. We all have different preferences, but it's like it's there if you want it. And if you don't want it, you can skip it.
So Joe said 2 hours with possible out of the ring content for a 30 spot would be perfect. Now, I don't disagree with that, but I would think if they did a post show on Netflix, that's very interesting to me. Like a Raw talk, I'd be okay with that because then I feel like
sense.
that would then lead and bleed into storylines that you couldn't necessarily get on the show. I think that's a great idea, Joe. I think that would be wonderful. I do want to say this very quickly as well. It is something that I want to bring up. I don't ever want to see anybody lose their job, but if it gets cut to 2 hours, there's going to be a lot more competitiveness for TV time and trying to shoe in everybody, especially on Monday Night Raw, like you said, where everything was spread out. Do you think people might lose their jobs here? Not necessarily the crew, but the actual wrestlers or talent involved here.
Well, let me put it this way. People are going to lose their jobs every year, no matter what. It's just how businesses work. And when you have a lot of these new deals, it's like there's always the perception that a lot more money is coming in, but there's going to be a lot more expenses. So yeah, that New Year's going to come around. There's going to be people losing their jobs. In terms of the wrestlers, we normally don't see that till usually after WrestleMania, but I wouldn't be surprised. You never know. But it's just it's one of those things like, yeah, there's going to be budget things because there's going to be more expenses when you do different type things. And yeah, if there's an hour less of television, then it's like, well, we don't have to book for that talent, but it's one of those things. They're still doing their live events there. I think they're going to push for more things like WWE Speed because it actually has been a very good success for them. And they're making a lot of money on it because the advertisers thrilled with it. Like little things like that are more exclusive to these other type of platforms because that's kind of how the media industry is going anyways. So whether it's like extra things on Netflix, like you, I think Joe's right on the money with like a Raw talk after the show. Like it makes it a lot easier to do those things when you have the streaming service. They now have 2 of them. They have Netflix and they have Peacock. That makes it a lot easier to do extra shit. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be budget cuts. There always will be, but I don't think it'll be because of this.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Thank you for enlightening us. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then finally, since it came out today, PWI 500. I have a lot of friends who, when they're in the business and they see they're actually in the 500, it's a pretty cool moment.
It's awesome. It's a very cool
thing. when you're actually listed, like, holy shit, like my friend is in PWI 500. That's pretty cool. It doesn't happen a lot for me. But so the top 10, we'll stick with the top 10 here. I will read out the names, JC, and you let me know how you feel. Before we do that, this has been interesting to me because I've been a nerd my entire life about wrestling, but I've never actually figured out the equation to the PWI 500. And as I read these things to you, JC, I want to hear your thoughts on how these categories, whatever you want to talk about, what are they called? Evaluations here. Another reminder that this list is evaluated solely on kayfabe and weighs in on this criteria is what it says. You ready for this? Win-loss record, championships won, quality of competition, major feuds, prominence within a wrestler's promotion, and overall wrestling ability. Let me say that last one again to you. Overall wrestling ability.
Yeah, and I think that's the number one thing here is that when people get mad and look at a list and be like, that isn't the best technical wrestler in the world. That's not what fucking wrestling is, you stupid fucking moron. That is part of the equation. We talk about it all the time. It's a fucking pie. If you're incredible in the ring, that is a major piece of the pie. Because again, that is the thing. But the wrestling is so much more than that. But the one that makes me laugh on there is, I think it was, what was the third one again?
Quality of competition.
Let me use the second one.
Championships won, quality of competition, major feuds, prominence within a promotion.
Okay, I'll go with quality of competition. And I look at the list and I'm like, it's fucking fake news. Because if it was truly quality of competition was as important as they say, there wouldn't only be 4 WWE wrestlers in the fucking top 10. And fucking Gunther wouldn't be at, what is he, 8 or 9? Get the fuck
Gunther's
out
at
of here.
9. Yep.
Yeah, so you can read the list. And number 1 is perfect. Perfectly
Obviously.
number 1. Number 2, there's an argument, but after that, it gets kind of wonky.
All right, so Cody's at number 1, Swerve at number 2, Will Ospreay is number 3, Seth freaking Rollins number 3, Naito is number 5. Naito, I just like saying Naito because it makes up people up. Damian Priest number 6, which to me was kind of a head scratcher. I mean, he did a great job,
He
but
should
like
be higher. He should be above Naito. Why the fuck is Naito ahead of him?
Because he's the champion.
It doesn't matter. Damian Priest was the champion. He was Money in the Bank. He was a tag team champion for like the whole year on like the number 1 show. He was the fucking face of it, of the major fucking thing. He's been in like A-list storylines and the biggest promotion. The fuck out of here. He should be up there. Keep going.
All right. MJF, John Moxley. Now this is the one. This is the one that pisses me off. There's another one too, but this one really grinds my gears. The internet loves them some John Moxley. John Moxley is not a PW 500 wrestler above 10, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Especially not this year. He hasn't done much this year. In the past, yeah, but not this year.
I just feel like this was an off year for him, so this is very odd to me. And of course, I wanted to make sure I say this too, is that it was from August to July 31st.
Yeah, but even still, like, what has Moxley done the last year and a half?
I can't remember. I thought he was gone for some of it too. So I
mean, that's always part of it. So a lot of these guys miss chunks, but that's part of it.
All right. After that, Gunther, as you said, number 9. And then this is the one that JC was laughing in the thread for number 10, Mystico. That's
Sin Cara!
Right. Sin Cara is number 10, folks.
Like, you fucking kidding me? Like, that's my problem with this list is because look you want to put Swerve number 2? That's fine. He's had a great year. He's really elevated. He's in a number 2 promotion. He was a face of that for a big chunk of it. He's had great matches. His character's great. We love him. No problem. And look, I'm the biggest Ospreay guy in the world, but Gunther needs to be in the top 3. Whether it's 2, whether it's 3, unacceptable that he's not. Like, it's just like, yeah, he's the world champion in the face. And I can be like, oh, that just happened. It's like, have you not watched WWE the last 2 years? Who is consistently having the best matches every fucking PLE and all this shit? It's just like, come on, his character work is so improved. It's just like he checks every single box. And then the 2 that aren't on here that should be on here, Drew McIntyre not being in the top 10 is fucking stupid. Sami Zayn not being in the top 10 is fucking stupid. Put both those guys in. Get fucking Mystical out of my fucking face. Get Moxley out of my face. Knock Naito down a little bit. Come on, like the guy, like he's a little like it's. Come on, I know why they do it. It's because whatever, but it's just like those are my big gripes with it. And also, like, by the way, if you want to put an AEW guy after Swerve, Ospreay, and MJF, and it's not Christian Cage, you're a fucking idiot. He's down at like 39. Have they not watched AEW the last year and a half? Who's had some of the great matches, had the great character, been a champion, leading a faction, has had the most consistent segments on the show? It's fucking him, not the coke dope it. I think they put him at 15, all this bullshit. Get it out of my fucking face. That's these fucking people.
Bunch of fucking nerds.
At least Chris Jericho wasn't in the top 10. Then I would have fucking erroneous.
When I saw this list, it's like every year it's just it makes me so mad. And I know that they're just using it as a talking point and everything, but like people get really excited about this. Like I made number 1 as a PWI 500 and it's just like, oh my God, I shouldn't care about this at all. But here
Like
we
you
are
said,
talking about it.
it's a
So
cool thing for especially like indie wrestlers and the way you
yes.
get notoriety because the wrestling world pays attention. I love that part of it. And honestly, like creating lists is very hard, especially when you do a top 500. But you know, it's when you create a list and you expect it to be critiqued because that's part of the fun. And yeah, those are my issues with the top 10. But at least they nailed number one because I feel like in the past they haven't always nailed number one. But this year, with fucking easy work. And anyone who says otherwise, you're just fucking stupid, man. And I don't want to have to sit here and have to explain to you how the business works.
And Roman Reigns wasn't really on there either. So let's just put that there.
No, he hasn't done much in a year, so he shouldn't be in the top 10 this year.
Biggest draw in wrestling, just throwing that out there. But you know, whatever.
You know, when you
who
show
cares?
up 4 times a year, like that's part of it.
Yeah.
Availability is part of it, Nestlemania. You know, it's one of those things. If Tom Brady played 4 games one year, you're going to give him the MVP? No, because availability is the most important thing. It's the most important skill.
I would think pliability actually is the most important skill.
No.
Pliability. You know,
availability. Because you can be as pliable as you want. If you're not available, then we can't fucking see how pliable you are.
Well, if you're available to be pliable, then you're pliable to be available.
So in your mind, Kelly should be number one because she has a ton of pliability.
Well, I have not been in the bedroom with her. I don't know how pliable.
I've seen her wrestle. She has pliability. That's one thing I can say about her wrestling skills.
Well, we know she's loud enough. She's a screamer. Anyway, moving on. We should get hopeful, shouldn't we?
Glorious! You're my only hope in Nestlemania. I don't know the exact date for this, but 10 years of New Day is coming up. You know what that means. We're getting the fucking turn, baby. If not, it's never happening. This is the time. And that's my hope. It's pretty simple. Because I'm assuming you're doing 10 years of New Day. It can't just be Kofi and Xavier. It's got to involve Big E. They're getting their tag title shot next week, which can lead to more dissension. But I was thinking about this for my hope, and I'm like, man, Woods turning on Kofi's easy. But if he turns on Kofi, and then Big E tries to talk him down, and he's able to attack Big E in some manner, that's how you make a fucking mega heel. Attack the guy who's out for his career with a neck injury. That's how you get fucking boom with a bullet. They're not going to need needles. They don't need cinder blocks. They don't need fucking plastic bags to fake a suffocation. They don't need gimmick chairs because it just be fucking good, baby. Give me what I want. Hashtag JC knows. Hashtag JC's hopes come true. Xavier Woods turns on both members of the New Day on their 10-year anniversary celebration of the New Day.
I love it. I want that to happen right now. I think that's fantastic. He said October, right? Is what he said. I think
it's coming up. I think
he said October.
Week and yeah.
That would be pretty cool. That would be awesome. That was a tip of the cap to you. That was nicely done. My hope is very simple because I think it's a great moment for me to mark out, and I think I would fucking love it because I love when shit like this happens, when it's just a throwaway comment becomes something, and I just want it to happen. If you check the tweets, if you check X, easy for me to say. If you track the tweets, Tweety Bird over here. If you track the tweets, if you go to Twitter X or Twix or whatever you call it, there's one intersecting thing that happened on Twitter that I was just like, ho, I like this an awful lot. Scrumptious. It is Logan Paul and Kevin Nash's online feud. And I was sitting there and I was like, now, if this is a real thing, fantastic.
It is. Kevin Nash fucking hates him. Kevin Nash is a fucking miserable old cunt.
I know, but here's the thing. The minute I saw Logan Paul's response, it was like, this ain't a work, bro. Fuck you. And then he was like, fuck me, fuck you. And he's like, you know, I'm the best at it and I haven't even put my full attention to it, man. I'll just show up whenever I want and give my attention to it. I was like, this is great. And then all I kept thinking about was, this is what I want. Logan Paul comes back at the Royal Rumble, beats some motherfuckers up. A couple people later, fucking power bomb fucking Logan Paul out of the goddamn ring. That would be fucking awesome. The 30 hopes from the Rumble. This is number one when we do it in January. This gotta fucking happen. I'm gonna forget this thing ever happened. And then when it happens in January or February next year, whatever it's supposed to be, I'm going to lose my shit because I'll forget. And it's going to be a great fucking moment of just like, oh, this is great. I don't even care if it's a work or a shoot. Doesn't matter to me.
Oh,
I'm going to love it. There's my hope. I just want to see the old man get up there and just beat the shit out of him. And here's the thing. You can say whatever you want about Kevin Nash. The dude's probably still fucking ripped, ready to go. Better than 90% of the roster, in my opinion. Obviously, you can make the joke about his leg, but whatever.
My favorite part of it is Logan Paul's like, I don't even know who the fuck you are because I didn't watch wrestling like that. He's like, I'm not like my peers. I have no fucking clue who you are. And I'm just like, I love this because it's just like, he doesn't even have to try to be fucking the best heel. And that's why, like, he is such a no-brainer and he's perfect for wrestling because he is just a fucking real life heel. He's not like the terrible human. He's made a lot of mistakes in his life, believe me. Being young, he's made a lot of dumb things and said some stupid things. But it's like overall he means well. It's just like the joy he is, he's just the perfect heel. And it's just like, this is perfect. Because Kevin Nash is a very bitter old vet. He fits like if you look up bitter old vet in the wrestling dictionary, you'll see fucking big sexy right there. But yeah, no, this is great. Logan Paul. Mwah.
And especially with Triple H being best friends with Kev.
Like, that makes it even better.
Yeah. Because like it is what it is. By the way, Hammerstone just showed up in NXT, so that's a big deal. So that is if there was ever a Vince McMahon like looking
does Dom
guy,
like or dislike Hammerstone?
I don't even know if Dom's still here, but if he I think he's a
I remember I've
guy.
seen Dom rant about Hammerstone, but I don't remember if it's positive or negative. You never know.
Oh, he's against Obafemi.
Units. Oh, dude, NXT is the fucking best show on TV.
Wow.
Anyone who tells me otherwise doesn't watch it. Like that.
I thought it was going to be Omos. If that was, he said he's on the fence about Hammerstone. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Because I've seen Dom talk about him before. That's how I kind of heard about it.
Well, now I got to shut this down and watch Obafemi versus fucking Hammerstone. This is going to be fucking ridiculous. I hope the ring breaks.
Unit, baby. It just, that show. It's just, by the way, Obafemi fucking should have been in the top 10. Look at him. That isn't like who's beating Obafemi? No one. If it's really about championships and win-loss record.
Well. It's quality of opponent there, JC. Quality of opponent.
He's beating some quality people now. He's got a nice list.
You got to take like 6 Wesleys to beat an Obafemi. Come on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Wesley's the greatest North American champion of all time.
That's true.
Easy work. He beat the head of a family. How many people can say they've done that? But Nestlemania, don't call it a comeback. Speaking of NXT, she already lost to Julia tonight, but Chelsea Green got a dub on SmackDown beating Mi Chin. So that's going to get my comeback worthy because Chelsea Green don't win much. But you know what happens when you have a big high-profile match against a big high-profile person debuting? You got to win the one going in because then they could be like Chelsea Green coming off a big win over Mi Chin on Friday as Julia's all over her. Can't wait to watch that as well. Just like nothing but dubs in NXT. HBK, the chef. Mwah. But Chelsea Green, you get my comeback.
I'll be honest, that my comeback is also NXT when our boy Tony was talking to a big person behind the glass. If it's not who I think it is, I'd be upset. I'm going to give my comeback to that big shadowy figure, which must have to be kind of, sort of, potentially, possibly, maybe be Omos. And if it's Omos versus Obafemi, I'm going to just have a full-on unit myself. And I think it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. Meat. Here's the thing. When you present meat in a certain way, it's fantastic. I don't need 80s meat where it's like Hulk Hogan versus all these big dumb assholes. I'm talking about like every once in a while, it's like, here's Bronson Reed jumping on Braun Strowman. I'll watch that all day long. Obafemi versus any big guy? Sure, let's do it. So, yeah.
It's different meat now, too. It's more natural meat. It's not as enhanced meat. And it just like, there's none of the bullshit that makes it taste bad. It just tastes so good because it's all natural, hard-working meat, baby.
You know what NXT is?
The best show on television?
Wagyu beef.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just speaking of my life, I finally had Wagyu like 5 years ago, and now it's all I order when I go to those places.
You're going to have $100 steak every time you order it? Jesus Christ.
Well, anytime I go to a nice steakhouse, yeah, I'm getting their fucking Wagyu, bro.
Fun fact, never had Wagyu, but I really want to.
It literally, like, you'll not, like, a good steak is a good steak, obviously, but like a good Wagyu steak is just like, there are certain mouth sensations, I'm just going to stop because no matter what I say, it's not going to come out right. But it's an incredible mouth sensation, Wagyu. Big ol' finish. We got SmackDown. We got their USA debut. They're going big. We got KO and a mystery partner taking A-Town down under. Mello and Andrade 5. And then Nestlemania, the main event, a steel cage match between Cody and Solo. Do they do it again when they move to a new show? Do they crown a new world champion?
I think we're going to get ooh-ah'd all over the goddamn place.
Yeah. Dan it.
He's coming. Whether he's alone, I don't know, but he's coming.
He's
absolutely coming. Look at him. He's the OTC. You just come on.
You down with OTC? Yeah, you know me.
Oh, apparently I'm gonna go get my Wagyu cherries popped simultaneously with the Joe Stopper. I don't even think I can pay for a Wagyu steak if you like it. Wagyu.
You could find some reasonable depending on the cut, but yeah, I mean, it's
I just want to be best friends with Baron Corbin and have him prepare all the meat.
oh hell yeah, I would just want to eat his meat all day.
And
all right, we gotta keep this shit moving. What else am I gonna say?
All right, is that it? Is that all we got? Is that how we end the show?
Raw has the tag team titles. Judgment Day takes on the New Day in the Battle of the Days.
Yeah, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares? We know New Day ain't winning. It just is what it is.
AEW followed on Wednesday. Who cares?
It's going to be interesting.
I always watch Wednesday now. They haven't given me a reason to watch Friday and Saturday anymore. But
I'm trying to look at All Elite, but as you've talked about in previous, things, is like they don't really. Okay, so we have Jon Moxley live. Woohoo! Who cares?
I mean, I'm interested what he has to say. He tried to
Mariah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Mariah versus Queen.
She's feuding with someone on crutches. That was interesting, but I guess it wasn't Chicago, so it made sense.
It is what it is. I don't even know how to say Queen.
I'm gonna say Amidala because that was Star Wars.
No, that's no.
I think it's like Amamita. I'm gonna stop.
I don't know. So here's a good one that's gonna make you just roll your eyes. On Wednesday night, get excited for Dynamite in a tag team casino gauntlet match. Winners get a shot at the tag titles at Grand Slam. That's right, folks. Winners get a shot at Grand Slam in Australia. Because that's
in Australia?
Yeah.
That'll be good. Do they have any Australian tag teams, mate?
I think they did have Aussie Open, didn't they?
Yeah, but one of them is hurt.
Maybe he's back. Kyle Fletcher can do no wrong. Just saying it. But I can't.
Having a good singles. Whatever happened to TM61? Do they still exist?
They do in Japan, but not unfortunately in the States.
You know what they say about Japan? They always end up in AEW, so don't be surprised.
All right. Well, I can't find anything that's a good graphic to give me anything, so I'm going to end there because I don't want to waste anybody else's time, nor my time. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, we're good?
Deuces, right, we out of here till next week?
We're out of here till next week. Until next week, thank you for listening and watching the Jobber Knocker podcast. We'll be back next week with some more Jobber Knockery.
And the best mouth sensations one can buy on a podcast.